Hey there, everyone. This is going to be not really a journal entry. It's going to be more of a trade review. So I just kind of had a review. I had a request from one of my friends slash viewers here. He wanted me to review one of the trades that I took from previous week, which was AMD. And just kind of what was going through my mind when I was playing out the trade. Um, so forth. Okay. So AMD, right? Why did I take this trade? Basically, when I was looking at it, obviously in the short term, if you're looking at the day, this kind of looks really messy. It's going down. It's not super great. Gap down here. Nasty. But I think the main thing to focus on is just the higher time frames. I would just look at the month, for example. Sorry, the quarter here is just so strong. Um, 3, 2 up, and obviously there's still more room to go up. Continue going up. And even with this pull down or drawdown, it still has not even tested this key level here of the previous um, quarterly high there. And on the month, right, I guess it's 2 down as well. But obviously, right, if this can force a 2 down in green, obviously that can go 3 up or set up for next month. But even though it goes 2 down, I expect that because the stock is so strong that it's kind of like 2 down, but then this is gonna basically bounce and turn green eventually by the end of the month. Or if it's super strong, it could obviously go green up to here, or even go 3 on the month. AMD is just a stock that moves, so a lot of those things. You do notice that the stock also just bounced off of this moving average as well, so something cool to note. But what am I looking for, right? So we know that with the strat, right, we talk about how every time there's a new low, what happens, right? When you get to the bottom of a broadening formation, it can kind of bounce up. So for example, new low created here, 2, 1, this 3, when it goes from like gap down buy and it sells up going 3, it has a possibility that this reversal from the bottom of the broadening formation could be the one to take you all the way up here. So how do you kind of want to play that? How you want to play that is when you have that kind of sign of it happening, you want to be in the trade, and you're just basically collecting coins as you kind of get up there. And along the way, you might want to lessen your load a little bit, cut 50% here, cut 50% there, and just kind of like gradually just trade it up all the way as it kind of gives you those opportunities to continue going up and up and up. At the same time, though, right, you're not expecting a straight line up, but you're expecting opportunities where you can kind of it goes up, closes in profit, takes them out, and then hey, you got this 3-2, right? Maybe you take it down here because it can't, breaks down here, gives you a little entry here, goes up here, take it off this profit here. Another same thing, 2 down, green, buy it up here. You take 50% off when it gets up there. And then when it goes 2 down against you here, maybe you want to exit the entire thing, right? But so I've kind of been watching and trading AMD for a while. I tried to take it off of this day here. Um, and then I think I took a little bit of profit somewhere in this mess, but I got burned previously when this gap down occurred. When this gap down turned red, I just pretty much had to exit my position on a loss. But then when I got this day here on the Monday, I believe I took some position in on this Monday, and I took some in on this Tuesday. Um, and I believe on the week, the target was up here. Um, and so I pretty much exited most of my position. Basically, when this went from green to red, or like almost tapped the target, started reversing on the very like 5 minute or so. Um, but I guess we can talk more about that. So, let's see here. Here we go. So this Monday, right, is down here. Monday, it's gonna obviously, the week is gonna open from down there. So it's gonna at some point, right, the stock comes down in the beginning of the day, and you're seeing red initially, right, 2 down red, but then as soon as it goes green, I'm thinking in my mind, 2 down in green week, right? What can happen? 2 down in green week, I want to be in there because two things, right? Option one is it just is so strong that it goes 3 on the week, which almost it did. Option two, 2 down in green sets up next week to do 2 down in green, 2 up, right? Which is something that I want to be in. It's one of the most common combos out there of a 2 down, 2 down in green, followed by a 2 up. Um, so let's see how we traded this, right? So here on AMD, let's look at the 30. So 9.8 down here. So it opens with a 3 down here on the first 30, which is it's whatever, it's fine. Then you get a 1 bar here, right? I wouldn't blame you if you took this 312 up. It kind of did what it was supposed to, right? Hits magnitude on the 312 up here. So at that point, you can probably exit as soon as you see it coming down. You get a 2-1. Again, you had another opportunity when it goes 2-1-2 up here and starts going 3 against you. You can cut your position, take a small, loss or whatever on it. Um, I believe I was just late to the party that day. I think maybe I was just like, it didn't set my alarm, whatever happened. Because I was looking at my trades and I got in around 10:30. So 10:30, where's that at? Like around here. Almost like over here. Kind of wonder why. So let's just note it on the 30 here. So this is like the purple line. So I guess if you were watching the 30s, you could have gotten in around. Oh, so yeah, 10:32. So that's pretty much. I think that's basically when I entered. Um, when I was looking at the 30s, because I figure, okay, new low, all-time lows. It bounces up, it comes down. You get the reversal, right? This is kind of like a higher low situation, right? One low and then a higher low, and then this. I don't know if it's gonna go like in one day back to the highs, but this is what I'm banking on at that point. You can set your stop for obviously here, or you can set it down there. I mean, up to you, but again, at that point, it never hits. You're good to go. So this is like my first, entry, so to speak. Um, yeah, I'd say that's fine. I guess if let's say, well, what would I have done if I was here and I actually took this position here? Would I have closed when it comes down here? It's hard to say. I mean, it depends on how much time I have. Like, would I have waited for it to all come all the way down here and make a new low and then confirm like it's not gonna go my way? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, obviously the best place to exit is on this 212 opportunity up here because this 3 never goes against you. But when it goes 3 down against you here, or when it starts going 2 up red here, that's probably, your exit signal, especially over here. Maybe you can get somewhere break even or very close to it. Um, but yeah, or you can just hang around on the hour and then you'd be probably good either way. Let's take a look at the hour here. Yeah, you had like a 3-2, maybe you got in here, but again, another opportunity here on this 10:30 candle to get in with AMD somewhere around here. So, safer entry over here. Can't blame me if you tried to take a 3-2 up here. Yeah, okay. So, okay, so second day here, we open, right? This is a pretty good open. I mean, it's almost like what they call wickless down here. You get a 2, it really goes sky high. And then the next candle, ooh, this is pretty gnarly here, but I guess you could say your stop is down here initially on the red. And you can kind of move it up as the day goes. But 2, 1, inside, inside. I'm kind of noting at this point that these 2 bars is going to be like an hour in the hourly. Is going to be 1 bar, so that's probably a 2. This is going to be a 1. This bar, even though it's like a 2 up in red, obviously if you wanted to, you could probably exit some here, or you might have taken the 2 inside 1 up here if it was pretty close. Let's say you took this entry up here, right? If you wanted to be super tight stop, yeah, you could get out here as soon as it goes red against you. Me personally, just because if I'm taking a position, like I don't necessarily want to get out, I'd rather just, what would I kind of consider to be like my final out, right? That'd be my question. And I would say, if I'm considering like the hour, right? These 2 bars are going to be the 2 bar. These 2 are going to be on the inside. This is still inside of that inside bar. So let's take a look at what I mean, right? So on the hour, here we go. Right? So we talked about 2, 1, and then, right, this inside bar, it never technically breaks it to the downside, right? If you're looking at the 30s, it never happens. Let's see if I can get a side by side right here, and then this mess here, side by side, right? Even though it goes 2 down against you on the 30, it never really like goes against you on the hour. And in fact, right, you know, if you're looking at VWAP, for example, right, this 212 area here, it kind of bounces, goes above. The nice thing to also note, which is again not strat related to, is that it's creating kind of this higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low situation to get you kind of out. So that's something I guess you can kind of note as well to help you out in that regard. I believe I might have taken an ad somewhere around here. I don't know. I thought it was another 1030 entry for me for some reason. Um, let's see. But I mean, if you're hanging around the hour, right? This would have been um, a possible entry on the hour to get in. If you're on the 30s, right? This could have been an entry. This could have been an entry, right? So to get you in as well. Um, if you want to be really tight stop, I mean, again, what you can do as well is you can be in off this. As soon as it goes 2 up red against you, right, you can be out, and then you can be in again here. It's just pretty tiring at that point to kind of, re-enter, enter, re-enter, re-enter. But I mean, the issue there is you just have to be laser focused. You have to have the mental like capacity, and you have to have the mental like, I don't know what the word is, mental buying power to kind of keep getting in and out, in and out, in and out, over and over and over again. Because at some point, I feel like if you're doing it over and over and over again, you just kind of lose like confidence in the trade. Um, where if you're an algorithm, you don't necessarily have to deal with that problem. But like I said, right, that's kind of like if you're in here, that's kind of maybe the mental state you want to get into in terms of like why you would not like get out, for example. And if you're again, if you're looking at, for example, your level of defense, you're like, well, I'm using VWAP. Like, how come you're not getting a to get out? Um, at some point when you're in the trade, you're gonna notice that like some days are just so choppy, and this tends to happen when there's very little volume, like so. Is that this VWAP just gets what I call disrespected, right? Because it's like, okay, I'm hopping over, under, over, up, up, down. It's like VWAP is not even there. Like it's just kind of bouncing. Like you can ignore VWAP at that point because it's almost like there's not enough people to just kind of respect it. It's almost like an algo is just slowly pushing it up and down, up and down. Um, and you can kind of notice with the moving averages too. Like it's almost like the moving averages are just being disrespected too. Closes below, goes above, twists below, goes above. I mean, at that point, maybe you can rely on the 50, but there comes a point at which you realize, right, when there's a choppy market or a consolidation occurring, this is very common where you have this disrespect of VWAP where it's like these lines don't even matter. It's just going up and down. There's no kind of like trend, right? When there's a trend, this is what a trend looks like, right? So you have beginning of the day, you get maybe this trend in the beginning, then you get chop, right? But then once you get trend, okay, suddenly price is like staying above the moving averages in a sense. And at that point, you can probably stay in the trade, right? Because you see the moving averages, they're just going up and up and up, right? They're staying above, they're hugging above, right? Or below if it's like a downtrend. But here, this is just consolidation. You can kind of ignore it. So when you see consolidation like this, I think my word of advice at that point is to probably stick to a higher time frame, and just be aware that like, hey, it's gonna be kind of choppy at that point. But when you see price finally getting up here, right? So that's why again I say if you see this chop, maybe it might be better to like, okay, skip the 30s and just stay on the hour, because you never know, right? You might get this 30 up and then suddenly goes back down and up and down. But if you're looking on the hourly, for example, like here, right? You can get in here, and at that point, it's there's no I don't think there's a 30 against you. Maybe at the end, but at that point, it's like you're just holding it at that point, and you're just holding it at that point. So on the hourly, you're just good. But that's again a rule of advice that I probably should mention to some people is that look, when you see consolidation, what are the signs of consolidation, right? Choppy ass price. So if you're in the 15s or the 5s or lower time frames and you're getting chopped up in here, right? Or you're seeing this, right? Okay, VWAP is supposed to be respected, but it's not being respected. What's going on? My moving averages is like it's going up and down all over the place. What should I do? Do not take a trade in this, right? Go to a higher time frame like the hour, and then stick to the hour, because then that's going to be at least better probability than this, you know, shoddy ass mess, I'd say, right? Um, and you can use, yeah, I'd just say stick to the hour. Okay, so cool. Let's say this is your ad, right? You're still in the trade from previous day. You're in the ad. Have we hit any certain targets yet? Not really. I mean, obviously at this point I'm thinking, okay, we want to go for gap close, on the daily here, right? Okay. On the daily here, like this area, this gap fill is probably a target. This is target 2. This is target 3. I did not expect a gap up the next day. I don't know if there was news, whatever. At that point, how are we managing the trade, right? Okay, so you've got your targets marked out. You're like, hey, this is what I've got. You know, this is what we're gonna see, right? There's two situations on a gap up like this, obviously, right? You have situation one where it's a gap up and back to the previous range, which is what occurs. You have maybe a gap and then it just consolidates sideways, which is maybe what we prefer because we don't want it to go down. We want it to just consolidate and go up. Obviously, the other option, which would be nice, which didn't happen, is a gap up and just continue buying up. So how do we manage the position on this day? Got our targets marked out. Good. We've got our fivers. Let's take a look. So the next day here, just pull that up. Okay. So again, there's a lot of ways to kind of manage it, I would say. Just like when we talked about re-entries, there's like 3 ways you can enter the trade, right? You've got the get in right on the break, get in on the retest, or get in on the breakout. Right. So one option is, right, in this case, okay, the candle is like it opens right from about here, right? It briefly is like green, right? It kind of like, I don't even know if we can go to the oneer. Maybe the oneer is even more clear. This is 9, 10. Is it clear on the? Ooh, okay. Let's see. Can we go to 9, 10? Go to. Cool. Okay, this is 9, 10. Perfect. Okay, so let's look on the 1 minute what's occurring. And I don't usually use the 1 minute, but it's good to see what's going on at that case, right? Okay, so the first thing that happens is it goes green for the first minute. It taps up here, and it just starts rolling back down red, right? So I guess when you see that the day that when it gets really close to your target, doesn't hit it, and starts turning the day red, especially when you see it on the 5 minute, that can be kind of your first signal, immediate signal to just get out of the trade. Because you're so close to target, I mean, you might as well just take your money at that point. And again, that is kind of your major target, right? So why is it a major target, right? When it goes 3 on the week. When it goes 3 on the week, that's going to be your exhaustion risk, right? Because we're in the range, right? The bottom of the range is down here. That's where on the Monday it went down to. At that point, it wants to break up to the upside of the range. Okay, now we get to the top of the range. If it gets to the top of the range, now what's the risk? Now we go back to the bottom of the range. So, in this case, we got so close to it. I mean, I would just say, like, at that point to take your money, not to be super greedy about it. But let's say you're frozen in shock. You're like, oh, this target it can still hit, right? I mean, price is going down so far lower. Again, which really sucks. This is your second chance to get out. Retest off VWAP, bounces back down. Again, at this point, I would say you're out. It just has to be 9, 10. If you're not out at this point, you got to be out at this point when it goes 2 down red against you, right? Open of the day, now it goes 2 down red against you. This has got to be your out. If you want to, again, it gets close to your target, starts turning red, and gets down here, pokes back up here, pokes down VWAP, but as soon as it goes red again, continuation down against you, like that's got to be your your signal to just, I mean, you did what you're supposed to do, especially if you're in weeklies and you hit your weekly target, like you just got to be out. Let's say you want to take a more balanced approach. Okay, we're close to the weekly target. I take half off at that point. I'm gonna trail the rest. Well, this is your trail the rest. I'm out. And if you still want to be in it, because you've got like 10% runners and you're just like, maybe I'll let it go, then you can. Let's see if there's an obvious 30 to get you out too. So let's say you're on here, right? 212 up here, 30. This 3 up, that kind of goes against you here. Especially this one right here, that can be your, I mean, that's got to be your out right here for sure. If not where we've said it previously. But Yeah, because what is the issue at that point, right? The issue is that you know that you've hit the top of the broadening formation, and now we want to price could potentially try to retest down there, right? Back down to here. Um, what typically happens at a bottom is a good question, right? Um, not strat related, but something that might be interesting for you guys. Typically when you hit a bottom, you don't typically test the bottom once and then you just rock it to the top. Typically there's two tests, right? What I mean by that is like, okay, it pokes down below, sellers tried, okay, there's a little bit of a little spring back up, and then there's a second attempt to go lower. I mean, this would have been what my thought would be would be kind of like the attempt lower. Um, but again, I mean, at that point, if you think this is the bottom lower, when this starts going to down green or back to this previous range, I think maybe I tried at this point to take the trade. Then you can, you can still get in here as well. Um, yeah, so that's the AMD trade from last week. Um, yeah, I'll just leave it at that.